Sort of remember a few months ago, I happened to pull out my Solana Saga phone and I said, this thing is going to pay for itself. And sure enough, we're at the end of the year and it's paid for itself a couple times over. So you really do have to try everything in this space.
That was a based call, Justin. You never
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
Now you can't get your hands on them. They're sold out. I think they're going for like 4 to 5K on eBay the last I checked. But yeah.
Did you dump your blanc already?
Did you dump it? Did you dump the bonk?
Yeah, when I found out it was there, I dumped it
Okay.
immediately.
Welcome, everybody, to Steady Lads. This is episode 23, and it's actually the last episode of 2023. So, fitting. We have had quite a run. I think we've not missed a week now since we started this during the summer. So, we're looking to end in a bang, and we have some very cool awards and predictions. So, Justin, where are you at right now?
So I'm in Okinawa, Japan, taking a little Christmas vacation. Really amazing time here. When I'm bundled up now because it's freezing. It's like 1:30 a.m. here, but I went scuba diving yesterday. Absolute blast. The people are phenomenal here, and yeah, first time in Japan and absolutely loving it.
Wait, was the water cold? Or you wear a wetsuit or something?
Yes, you wear a wetsuit, 5 millimeter wetsuit, but all the locals here think it's freezing because in the summer here it's just like absurdly hot and the water's like bath water.
Mhm.
But here the water was about 74 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface.
That's really
And so
warm.
it's chilly without a wetsuit, but it's really not bad at all. So when you have a 5 millimeter wetsuit, it's like it's just nothing. It's really nice. It was a really beautiful time.
Nice.
I'm going there in March, so looking forward to enjoying Okinawa.
And we got to sync up our travel schedules better, Taiki, and make
Yeah,
sure we're
yeah.
here at the same time.
Thinking, are you somewhere a bit warmer? You're kind of wearing your wife beater, so I'm guessing the temperature is a bit nicer there.
Yeah, I'm in Miami right now.
Miami. Is Miami coin still a thing? Like, can you use Miami coin, or did they scrap that whole thing?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. That doesn't sound like that project went very well then. Um, yeah, so let's kick off on that side then. So, biggest L's of the year is something that we wanna look at. Miami coin, I think, has not even made it to that list. But Justin, how about you?
Yeah, for me, it's the famous JCal tweet. If you're in crypto, pivot to AI. This was a funny one, almost sort of a bottom signal for us. Signaled the sort of peak of the AI fundraising narrative and the bottom of crypto fundraising. And now it's funny because we're seeing messages or tweets from JCal saying he wants to do a podcast on Solana and learn more about it, which is absolutely hilarious. I feel like he's backing the wrong horse, and we'll see what happens. But for me, that's the absolute bottom, and that tweet is going to be memeable for a long time.
Yeah, it feels like Jason has become the Jim Cramer, like
VC.
kind of. Gensler is hard to not at least include in that category. The L's he's been taking one after the other.
Good one.
XRP had a victory, and it's been downhill from him since then. So I think that definitely at least an honorable mention for Mr. Gensler right now.
But we also owe him a big one. I mean, he's pushing the BTC ETF through, hopefully, in knock on wood, in under 2 weeks. And he's sort of our savior, our kryptonite in some ways, but also our savior, right?
Hickey, do you think he's like a undercover Bitcoin maxi? He's just trying to kill all the alts and let Bitcoin run, or what do you think?
Maybe. He's always talked pretty positively about Bitcoin.
I think we have a few more L categories, but let's move on to something positive. So, or depends how you look at it. But we have a category for an award for Founder of the Year. It's been an interesting year in crypto. I think some founders have really stood out. Maybe let's start with cliche. Thicky, can you give us a kind of a clear standout for you? Who's your founder of the year?
Yeah, I gotta say it's gotta be like Toli and Raj from the Solana Foundation. Especially given how well Solana is doing this year.
Yeah, I think Toli specifically, I haven't been tracking Raj as much, but Toli's done both the podcast circuit and it seemed like he's impressed a lot of people that he's spoken to. He's He's gone on both friendly and unfriendly podcasts, and he's a very likable guy. So he's stood out for making the community sort of have this like very positive role model, I would say, sort of like Vitalik had maybe in the early days of Ethereum. So yeah, given the comeback, that's a very clear choice.
Sort of remember a few months ago, I happened to pull out my Solana Saga phone and I said, this thing is going to pay for itself. And sure enough, we're at the end of the year and it's paid for itself a couple times over. So I just want to throw that out there. You really do have to try everything in this space.
That was a based call, Justin. You never
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
Now you can't get your hands on them. They're sold out. I think they're going for like 4 to 5K on eBay the last I checked. But
So.
yeah.
Did you dump your bonk already?
Did you dump it? Did you dump the bonk?
Yeah, when I found out it was there, I dumped it immediately.
Speaking of Justin, like who's your founder of the year?
For me, it has to go to Brian Armstrong. I mean, this guy, he's been in this space for so long and he's just been a consistently good actor. I had the privilege of meeting him and spending a lot of time chatting with him, and he is just an incredible guy. He's passionate about this space and he really is willing to like champion this fight against the SEC and basically just the fight against the establishment to defend crypto. And Coinbase stock has done very well despite everything that's been thrown against it. I mean, how many companies are doing so well even though the SEC is investigating them and or actually in a lawsuit against them? So for me, Brian Armstrong has never blinked. He's never doubted the space, and he's just been there for the past decade. So cheers to Brian Armstrong.
Yeah, I mean both of these picks so far, it's hard to argue with them. I mean, Brian has done an incredible job. He's my kind of founder, just steady during the tough times, and trying and experimenting different business lines during the good times. He's had staking, he's had USDC, he's had all kinds of base. I mean, what a great one. Kudos to Coinbase. They have multi-xed off the lows like a meme coin, and hopefully we'll keep going and keep fighting the good fight against the regulators. Taiki, anything is good?
Yeah, I think my vote for best founder goes to CZ. I haven't really followed what happened to him right now, like following everything that's happened, but he has like the four meme, right, that's been used throughout the last 12 months. And even though there's so much FUD, like Adam Cochran just like calling CZ a scam or like Binance a scam, like no one lost money on Binance. I have no idea if he goes to jail. I have no idea how much fees Binance has to pay, but like in hindsight, Binance was a net positive to the space. They onboarded millions of users. Binance Smart Chain, right, taught people how to use the EVM in the last bull market. So CZ definitely similar to Brian, but a net positive to the space. Overall, big fan.
I mean, clear winner, right? So Binance has had this like albatross around its neck with the DOJ investigation, and they got to some settlement that looks like the company is still, capturing a large percentage of the market share. So at least for 2023, he's managed to get through some of the toughest possible FUD. My founder of the year, I had to think about it a little bit. I have to say, I have mixed feelings on some of the things that have been put out, but I feel like Pac-Man has changed the game in many ways in 2023. We'll get to OpenSea later on, but I feel like both Blur and what he's shown with both using points for getting people excited for seasons and becoming active users. And then, this kind of a bit more controversial, maybe the dark side of using it too far, in my opinion, and, locking people's money in a smart contract for 3 months with the promise of points. But no matter what, he's clearly a young gun that is experimenting. He's found the pulse of retail, and you could say that he straddles the line between like the power of the Ponzi and kind of like the legit, backed by paradigm sort of meme. So he's my founder of the year. I haven't had the chance to chat with him much, but somebody that I'm very excited to kind of keep an eye on.
Also, I believe he's 24 too, which is just extremely impressive. I mean, he must have started Blur when he was 23 or so, which is just wild and really goes to show you in this space, you can be a persona that's not necessarily tied to your identity, right? Like he's Pac-Man. He's not his real identity. He's not this 23 or 24-year-old kid living in the Bay Area trying to make something work. He's just Pac-Man, and he's the founder of a $100 million plus, DeFi project or two of them, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all four founders, they have a claim. So starting with Totally, I mean, just based on comeback and like price appreciation during the year, that's it's kind of insane. Brian Armstrong for, steadfast, just kind of keep pressing on and keep growing. I think CZ for surviving through, enormous FUD and really kind of still standing strong. He's investigating DeFi now, whatever he said he's doing. He's looking into all kinds of stuff. So, and I think Pac-Man for innovating on in the Web3 kind of mantra. So, very strong group of founders. Let's move a bit to the opposite. Let's go to the biggest backdroppers. Who has been like from a really high point and somehow managed to not capitalize on that opportunity, or not kind of cash out maybe when things were good. Justin, we were talking about OpenSea. Is that maybe top of your list?
Yeah, OpenSea is going to be the big one for me. I mean, I it's hard to say Blur did anything surprising or new like we were sort of talking about earlier, but they really mastered this points mechanic, gamification, etc. And OpenSea had this maybe 6 month or even 12-month window to drop a token, sort of figure out what they were doing, and they sort of just stalled throughout the bear market. And since then they've actually laid off a lot of folks from their smart contract team. So they built this whole platform called Seaport, which is probably like the coolest thing they've actually came out with. Um, and they've laid off their best team. They never launched their token. They've sort of fumbled the bag with where NFTs are going, and now Hasib put out a really interesting tweet recently that most of the NFT volume, whether it's real or not, has actually moved off of Ethereum mainnet. So not only have they lost to Blur, but they've also lost basically just NFT market share as a whole. And it's sort of hard to imagine a world where OpenSea gets that market share back, because are new projects not going to go where the incentives are? Are they not going to just build out their new marketplaces? Are they not going to just deploy on these new incentivized chains? And so OpenSea went from a $10 billion plus valuation to who knows where it's at now. And they're a really great team. I'm certainly hoping for them, but I think they definitely could have done a lot more in this bear market than they did. And so it's a little disappointing to see where they're at now, where they're sort of not a part of the NFT conversation.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough to compete in Web3 if you can't really kind of go into these Ponzinomics we talk about, having your token drop at the right time and create these like flywheels, and somebody else is willing to do it. You might have an issue. Taiki, any backdrops that you've seen?
Yeah, I think 0x Racer with Frentech. I think Frentech was this phenomenon at the very beginning of the year that just caught everyone's attention. People were very hopeful about like this is going to get all these people to crypto. We had some athletes like Grayson Allen download Frentech and whatnot. But then following that, we still don't know what the airdrop thing is going to look like next year. I think he tweets some random things that doesn't make him seem like a great person. And it seems like people are not really supporting Frentech anymore. I feel like there was a lot of promise. People were really hopeful, but like now there's not much to show for it. So hopefully, I think they talked about Frentech V2 sometime next year, but definitely seems like they fumbled the bag. They definitely could have done something like much better, but it just seems like they just like dropped the bag.
Yeah, if you look at like how well they did during the bear market and non-existent during the bull market, that seems like a wasted opportunity. It really was one of the very few things people were talking about during the summer, I remember. I don't know if the fees were too high, where people were willing to pay them the 5%.
Yeah, 5% to the creator, 5% to the team. And then there was like some 3-3 mechanics going on, which, Jordy, you love. And then as soon as one person defects, everyone just defects. And then people lose money, they're pissed. There's no coins, there's like no airdrop, and they just leave. And I really haven't opened my Frentech in so long. When's the last time you guys opened your Frentech, Dickie and Justin?
I ended up selling everything that wasn't my own personal keys, just because there was really no need to hold those things. Sorry, Taiki, I sold your key. I think I sold yours, Sticky, and Jordy, you never made one, so I didn't have
I
an
never
opportunity to
never
sell it.
signed up, so I don't have
Yeah.
nothing to apologize to
Yeah,
me before.
it's okay, Justin. I think I sold your keys first, so
Yeah, you
no
dumped me
harm.
into oblivion. I was like climbing the ladder. I was at like 0.15, 0.17, and then I know you sold a bunch and never recovered.
I don't know how much I can blame on. Obviously, like people think FriendTech fumbled the bag, but I do think a lot of like the casinos that were really popular in the sort of doldrums this year in like August with like both Rollbit and FriendTech. I think they were kind of just destined to like take a back seat once things started popping off again because like I think the only reason why they were so popular during that time was because like we didn't have enough money to actually pump anything, so it was just like the lowest of the low liquidity things that could actually sustain a pump. And then as soon as money came back, like we just went to like the old casinos again.
Everyone was just craving something too, right? Like we all just wanted something to do on chain. This is something that we all sort of believed could lead to this new social narrative. And so it sort of makes sense. I mean, it was a nice thing to carry us through to where we're at now.
I think another one that sort of stood out to me is some of the people that kind of dropped Solana right at the wrong time, like Lido dropped Solana just before the run up because I think they were losing money running liquid staking there, and we've seen that Jito and some of the other ones have obviously capitalized. Some of the NFTs also, like Frank the Gods, I think
Oh my god.
also
Yeah,
left
that
Polygon, and that was a bit of a shit show.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he definitely fumbled. I think he tweeted recently like this has been the worst year of my life or something. He said that. And he like left Solana at $10 to go to Polygon and now he's considering coming back or something. I mean, yeah, it's I feel bad for the guy, but I guess from a business perspective, it was definitely the wrong decision.
NFTs in general, kind of Azukis. There are a few other examples of drop bags, and we'll kind of see who manages to recover in 2024. How about we go to a fun one? Let's look at the meme of the year. I think we have some pretty epic ones. Meme of 2023. We've had some really nice memes. Let's start with Chamath. This was a fun one, Justin.
Yeah, I'm keeping it with the all in theme. Huge fan of all in. I watch it every week, so I don't mean to rag on these guys, but Chamath's in the arena tweet was just absolutely hilarious. I think I was the one that brought this tweet to our attention for one of the pastas of the week a couple months ago. But this thing is just going to go down in history of one of the best tweets of 2023. Um, Chamath says, "I'm in the arena trying stuff. Some will work, some won't, but always learning." And he really got just sort of torn apart just because I don't want to say just a VC, but he's not really doing stuff. He's just investing and sort of talking with companies, advising, picking what companies to invest in. And so he sort of got torn apart for this one, but absolutely hilarious.
I love the idea of this guy, just imagining himself as a gladiator and kind of putting it out. But I will have to fact check you, Brad. Maybe you can find the clip of who actually used pasta of the week with Chamath, and
No, it was me.
we'll
It
put it
was
up.
me for sure.
Okay, let's check.
One that went the rounds this week. Chamath has gotten a little bit snarky.
I'm a big all in fan. I think with this podcast, we're trying to go for all in vibes, but for crypto. So I'm not anti Chamath by any means, but he got absolutely roasted. Just posted, "I'm in the arena," just sort of like mocking VCs.
How about you, Taiki? Any pasta that's sort of any meme that stood out?
Yeah, so I think if you're in CT, this is the pasta of the year. I think with Crypto Capo. I've been checking the charts all this time, avoiding noise from Twitter. The way the upward movement is happening, the way the high time frame resistances are being tested, it clearly looks manipulated. No real demand. Once again, the biggest bull trap I've ever seen, but they won't trap me. And this is January 21st, 2023. And I feel like Capo is not even like he's kind of this mythical creature that just his personality is to, like just call everything bear traps, bull traps, and call for 12K price targets. And every time crypto pumps, like people just like copy pasta this tweet. Every time a new capo comes out, he calls for 12K Bitcoin, and then like price immediately pumps after. So I just love crypto capo. Probably like one of my favorite accounts to like just chuckle at.
Yeah, I think this is probably the CT meme maybe of the year. What do you think, Vicky?
Yeah, I feel like I think with every bull sort of cycle, like somebody gets trapped in a really stubborn short, and they just make it their personality. They just become the main character bear. This one was like Capo. I think Naptuner just like refused to like flip bias, and at this point they're just like, I'm not wrong. Like I'm just early, and they can't flip now. Like if they flip, that's like a pure top signal.
It's the meme of the guy looking in the mirror. He's like, I'm not wrong. Market's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's like the most dangerous thing in crypto, right? Because it's so tribal. Like you can't make something your personality. Like at that point, you just get fucked over at some point.
When you're public about it, it makes it even harder because it's like if you flip, then like that means everyone that you hate was wrong or was right.
Yeah.
So I have a meme. It's going to be a self meme this year. I managed to recreate one of my favorite CT memes in real life, and I just had a sudden inspiration during the Balaji $1 million bet while I was in a club, and I managed to get the guy in the corner of the room while everybody else is partying. They don't know that within 90 days the fiat system is going to collapse and Bitcoin will go to 1 million. I've been trying to like do more of these live memes. I was in Thailand last week, and there was some butterflies going around, and I was really trying to get a selfie with one of the butterflies so I could do the meme with the guys like, there's like a butterfly.
Yeah.
And it's like, is this?
Yeah.
I
The
wanted to put it
animating.
together. So I'll try for that in 2024. Hopefully, I'll have a similar one. Vicky, any memes recently?
Yeah, I really like this one. I think Sailor is just such a sigma male Chad. He's been carrying Bitcoin this year, and this is just like the pinnacle of like a Sailorism that he tweeted out recently.
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. But take all your money, buy Bitcoin.
All right. And last thing for 2023, narratives. Crypto's all about narratives. They kind of drive the markets. They drive everyone's emotions. Curious, like, what you guys think was the narrative of the year for you? Taiki, any narratives?
I don't want to take anyone else's narrative, but I think generally Solana has been just eye-opening for everyone, and I think the narrative that will translate over to next cycle is the revival of these alt-ones. And if you think about it, like this, in the past 2 years since the market topped, there hasn't been that much new innovation in crypto, so people just end up buying alt-ones and meme coins, and like unless I also feel like this is like one of the reasons why crypto natives just have like a bearish tune with like where the markets are right now, because like what new has like nothing has changed, right? Like it's just like new coins, new memes, and until something new happens, uh, I feel like it's really hard to imagine that much more retail getting super excited about crypto. But yeah, like definitely Solana just surprising everyone, and it forces everyone to be more open-minded about Alto ones coming back, and maybe the Ethereum killer or the Ethereum hedge narratives comes back again next cycle as well.
It's so funny. Like, it feels like every year alt L1s just always do well, and there's unlimited appetite to launching 10 more L1s at 10 billion FDV, and it just never seems to run out of appetite. And yeah, Solana obviously like coming back from Phoenix from the ashes, and I would say like the community that kind of stood at the core, maybe like 5,000 people. They all bought a Mad Lads, and they just kind of hung out during the $8 price and made it through. So definitely one of the narratives for sure. Vicky, I've heard you talk about AI. Is that something that you think is the narrative for last year or for New Year?
I think it carries over. I picked it kind of ironically because I think it's like not like a real. There's nothing there, just like pure like vapor and like ape impulse pattern matching. But like I do think it's like inevitable. It's there's been a few names that have been done really well this year because of the AI sort of narrative, and I think it'll continue next year.
Justin, how about you?
I'm actually going to call a little bit of an audible. I think the narrative of the year has to be the BTC ETF. And not just the fact that it's happening, but we knew BlackRock had their application in well before the Cointelegraph intern dropped that fake news. The fake news caused a pump, and then everyone started to freak out and think, wow, when the BTC ETF actually happens, there is going to be this buying pressure.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, like I do want to say that because I on this podcast, I think we were the first out of any like other commentator in the market. We were the first. I think me and Thicky were kind of quite clear that we were like all in long as soon as we saw the fake pump, and the reaction to it was like so clearly bullish. I think you're right to pinpoint the fact that it hasn't fully retraced and Bitcoin has been healthy ever since that fake news. And from a game theory standpoint, it's one of those moments where people who have been on the sidelines are starting to be too scared of waiting too long, and they're looking at each other, and everyone's realizing that there is buying demand. They saw that there is the fact that when this ETF does come out, there will be a candle.
I don't think people are going to sell it until the inflows come in. So in between the time it gets approved and like it actually starts trading, I could see it just easily grinding up.
I think at some point, Avi also had a very similar take, and people eventually some of them packed on, but we called that very clearly and very strongly, that exactly that move that kind of showed that there are people sidelined, there was sideline money, and it was going to come in. Very powerful.
Yeah, very interesting, and it just shows you this industry always never stops amazing me. The fact that we can have this amazing run up solely based on the catalyst of a Cointelegraph fake news announcement happening, because that's really what's happened over the last couple months. So it's truly wild, and now we're in uncharted territory. We don't know if the ETF's going to be sell the news because there's been a huge run up. So that's my narrative of the year.
Absolutely. It's been a defining one towards the end of the year. I think for me, the fact that Bitcoin has had some changes and we have ordinals and BRC20s is interesting. It's definitely a narrative. It's the biggest crypto, and we don't normally see like such large changes. I'm not sure if security budget is solved, because just because people are paying a lot of fees now doesn't mean that they'll still want to do the same use cases in 50 years when the problem will be really bad. But that has to be like one of the narratives. And for me personally, people forgot about this now because it's we're at the end of the year. But at the beginning of the year, a certain character called GCR, maybe the best GOAT trader in all of crypto, blew my mind. He called for an echo bubble. I don't know how he saw that, or it just came out of nowhere. We were after FTX, and it was looking like a very horrible bear market was about to start. And he just called that there was going to be an echo bubble, and he correctly called this, very strong bounce off the lows. We've forgotten about it now, but kudos to GCR, I would say.
But isn't it also amazing? I remember when that happened, and I was thinking, wow, we're in for a couple of years of terrible regulatory pressure, suppressed price. But that was actually the bottom. I mean, looking back on that, it's just so wild. That was the bottom for the regulatory FUD, the bottom for price, the bottom for the social metrics. Just fascinating how that was just the perfect bottom.
And I think
Yeah.
Fiki will agree with me, but part of it feels like it's because a good chunk of the industry is about gambling. These a lot of these meme coins and all this stuff is about gambling, and gambling sort of does well even in the worst of times because people just want to punt. There's this like lottery ticket sort of frustration. So, um, it shows that there's a resilience during the negative reflexivity.
The defensive industry.
Defensive, defensive stock.
Yeah, crypto becomes defensive.
Meth and meth and Gamblefy. Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been quite a 2023. I'm kind of curious to hear you guys' predictions on 2024 as we enter potentially a new type of market now. A lot of new things popping off. Maybe let's start with what's going to be some of the new coins that you guys are very bullish on, or maybe bearish on. Like maybe let's start with bullish. Like Thicky, out of all the new kind of launches that have been telegraphed, what are you liking right now?
I think like Monad seems like the most clear consensus bullish for an L1 for narrative, and I guess like for its size.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me, having tracked that project from the very beginning. They've done such a good job of already pre-launch making such a huge kind of grab of expectations and in mind space. Um, Taiki, have you followed Monad?
Yeah. They're trying to do like a parallelized EVM, right? For our audience, like, do you mind explaining like the value prop of Monad?
Yeah, so obviously right now there's a lot of talk about Ethereum versus Solana and how Solana is parallelized as an architecture and can perform a lot better because a lot of the executions can sort of be done on different nodes. But in reality, that is possible with Geth. So I think with EVM, what Monad's doing is rewriting Geth and kind of from the ground up trying to parallelize executions. Ultimately, there's a world where you're making optimistic assumptions to get even faster and start pushing the boundaries there. So they're using C++, being from HFT, and Keone, who's the founder, and we'll have him in January here. So I'm very excited to have him on soon. He knows C++. He understands how performance can kind of come out of that world. So yeah, I'm pretty clear that Monad's done well. Justin, you've seen Monad maybe with they hired intern from CMS and they've hired a few other CT people. Do you think that those guys are kind of worth their weight in gold? It seems like they've really done an outstanding job of community building.
Like when I interviewed CL, the cat, on my channel, like he mentioned that social media is the fundamentals, right? Because a lot of crypto, there's no way to value these things. So what you see online is people's source of truth. So if people see a community and they're like, oh, like Monad is so good, Solana is so good, XYZ token is so good, then it's like, oh, like I guess that token is good, and then the token gets bid up, and it kind of goes along like what Vicky said as well about like everything in crypto is a meme coin, right? It's just like all driven by narratives. It's all like just like narrative speculation, and the fundamentals might be there, but that's just part of like the speculation. Yeah,
I love what CL said. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. I would say it's memes, it's social media, and it's also probably price, charts. People look at the charts. Oh, it's breaking out. Like it sort of like takes a life of its own. And we've seen that many times now. Taiki, any launch that you're excited by?
yeah. I'm honestly like excited with all these new app chains that's going to launch on Cosmos. If you look at the price action for all the Cosmos tokens, everything except Atom is like pumping really, really hard, right? Like Atom is kind of like this cucked coin with all the politics and baggage, whereas any chain that launches using the Cosmos SDK just like sends. So I'm really excited for Dimension. That's going to be this L1 that's going to be built on top of Celestia. That's going to allow, I guess their value prop is that launching an application specific roll up should be as easy as launching a smart contract. And I think as Celestia launches, Dimension launches, we're going to see this plethora of all these new roll apps, and the market has shown its hand. People love to bid L1 tokens, app chain tokens. So I think that's where most of the speculation is going to happen. And we're going to see all these new chains launch on the Ethereum side, Cosmos, Solana, like SBM. So excited for all these new L1s, more tokens to gamble on, I guess.
Always need more of those. Justin, how about you? What are you excited for launching?
Yeah, I think the big launch this year is going to be the Layer Zero token. They sort of announced this was coming in the first half of the year, I think late Q1, maybe Q2 at the latest. And I think this token has just been hyped up for so long. And in my mind, the Layer Zero token sort of stands in its completely own new category, because they've nailed it with the branding, right? Like Layer Zero, it's this base layer that all chains sort of sit on top of and communicate through. And people are just absolutely hyped for this token. I also am very excited to see what happens because there's a Stargate token, right? And so, like, where does the value accrue? Who's holding Stargate when you can hold this new shiny token, Layer Zero? But for me, I think that's probably going to be, as far as market cap goes for like project tokens specifically, this is going to be the biggest launch of 2024 that I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah, I'm ready for the bridge wars. I mean, Layer Zero raised at 3 billion. We have Wormhole is also launching, raised at 2.5 billion. These are going to be massive valuations. I don't really see them going below their private raises in this kind of market environment. So especially with lower floats. So both Layer Zero and Wormhole, very very excited to kind of see those finally go to market and and see what kind of airdrops and stimmies they create. Probably more free money to go around.
Yeah, speaking of airdrops, I think Eigenlayer is also a hyped one. And I also feel like all these big airdrops, it might actually help create a bottom in ETH BTC, like a sustainable one, just because the majority of these airdrops are going to be going to Ethereum, I guess, users. And if they get like 5-figure airdrops, like people will always sell all these airdrops into ETH at some point, and that's going to be additional liquidity, like buy pressure, and ETH as community money, like that can actually help stop ETH from being this cucked coin that it's been for the last 12 months.
The flip side of that, Taiki, is what you pointed out, I think, 2 weeks ago, which is sort of like if you want to buy any token, any ERC20 and speculate along the risk curve, you actually have to sell ETH to do it, right? Because your base holding is ETH. You have to swap on Uniswap, sell your ETH and buy this new coin. And it's sort of this interesting dynamic where like the better Ethereum does, the worse the token could theoretically do because everyone has to sell the coin to buy the hot new stuff that's built on Ethereum. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I've been trying to think through that just a bit more.
Yeah, it just needs more retail inflow, I think, and maybe institutional interest to like bid ETH. We're seeing that with Bitcoin, and until there's new money, I just feel like ETH is gonna just underperform like hot new shiny stuff.
Yeah, Eigenlayer I've seen like in some of the estimates and private valuations that some people are estimating it launching at like 20 billion. I know that some people are extremely bullish on the ability for restaking to capture all kinds of new market segments. So there's a lot of hype. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Layer Zero, obviously huge. Monad's going to be very, very hyped as well. How about like some of the ones that we think might not launch as large as people are thinking? Justin, any in that category for you?
Yeah, I think ZK Sync and Starkware, it seems like they've sort of like lost their window to launch. I keep going back to this, but I remember in 2021, I interviewed the head of BD from Starkware, and he was telling me that they were just like a few weeks away from launch, like all of this big stuff was going to happen. And I'm not going to say they fumbled the bag, but they've certainly lost mindshare, right? Like you have Arbitrum and Optimism and Mantle and many other like layer twos on Ethereum that are live now that people are actually using, experimenting with, comfortable with. And like for all intents and purposes, the fees are cheap enough. Like I know like that's not really the hot narrative. People are with these fees, people are saying need to be sub 1 penny. But if you use Arbitrum and you use Optimism, it's just a few dollars, which is frankly fine. And so like part of me wonders if Starkware and ZK Sync have sort of lost their window to launch. I mean, I'm curious what do you guys think, but is there an appetite for that? Or is the appetite all to L1 right now? Like Solana, these new L1 chains that are launching. So I don't know. I think they've sort of lost mindshare a little bit. They've delayed and they've sort of kicked the can down the road for just a little bit too long, but we'll see. Also, I'm not sure the tech is ready too. So
I feel like from a narrative perspective, there's too many L2s that isn't able to differentiate itself from one or the other. And as more of these tokens launch, if a retail investor wants to buy an L2 token, do they buy ARB, OP, Scroll, Tyco, ZK Sync, Starkware? And I just feel like most of these L2 tokens, it's going to be a big airdrop. There's going to be a bunch of hype. People will be like chill it for like a month, and then people will like just dump it because it's like, why do I hold this token? That's kind of like my prediction.
do you really want to buy Arbitrum or Optimism and like hope that your L2 is the one that wins on Ethereum? Or do you want to just go to this like blue sky scenario where you're betting on Sol or you're betting on Avalanche or just an entirely new L1? It does strike me as like this tricky spot where all of the L2s are competing with each other. But if you launch a new L1, you're sort of competing with yourself. You're doing something new. So I agree with you. And I think like the only differentiator between the L2s is the color that their token has, right? Optimism is red, Arbitrum is blue, and like
I'll take the other side here. I'm definitely like a bit more bullish on the L2 wars. I think people are going to try different things. They're going to experiment more on the different L2s, not just the blast kind of manta type of experimenting on the Ponzi-nomics, but on the tech side, I think we'll have a lot more experiments. And I like some of these things like Immutable that are very focused on one sector and really just trying to nail, what that subsection that they're doing instead of trying to build a whole new like, mini Ethereum as an L2. But I agree with you, Justin. I think maybe like, some of the ZK Sync type of ones might not necessarily do well after the airdrop. There's a lot of farming going on, but I wouldn't say that there's a clear path right now in terms of capturing users and attention.
Quick question for Thicky. Like, let's say we have all these L2 tokens launch. Like, are you just going to be viewing all these tokens as like short opportunities from a trading perspective? How do you think about all these L2 tokens coming up?
I do think that like if they were to launch in this environment, they're going to do quite well because people will just come up with a narrative. I think all the new coins have done pretty well. I think a successful token launch is like kind of subjective. Like I agree with you that the fractal is going to play out like it's just going to giga pump in the first month and then it's going to like bleed slowly. But I'd argue that like that's a success because like with all these tokens, I do feel like what you want to do is just try to get your token price, like the spot holders, into as many people as possible, as high as possible, and then like slowly they'll bleed to disinterest, and then that'll give you like 6 months or a year of time to like actually deliver on what you've promised, and then like be around for the next wave of pump again.
Yeah, and then
so
it's like the 12-year like lockup finally starts
yeah,
to vest.
yeah,
and then the team's like, yes.
exactly. Like you're seeing this play out with like the Solana airdrops right now with like Jito. I think the valuation is like very, very high, and I think Jupe is going to have the same fractal. It's going to, start trading very, very high, and then it's going to like bleed. But that could be viewed as a success.
The one never-ending kind of meme in crypto is new coin good. Always
Yeah.
seems to be new coin good.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a fun category. Who's going to make a comeback in 2024? Who's sort of been away, going to come back? And please don't say anybody called Sam, please.
I think for me, it's gonna be Cardano and Charles Hodgkinson. I think this token, and this is not even, I'm not joking, this isn't ironic. I think this is going to be like the best performing, top 5, top 10 or so that's currently existing token for the next year. And I don't have the conviction to hold it, but I do think it's going to outperform pretty much everything else in the top 5, top 10. I think Sol's done incredibly well. Kudos to them, but how much more room does it have to go? ETH, obviously, I'm a huge bull there, but sure, it could 3x at best, right? But like, how much can we really hope for? Maybe at 4x's. BTC, we'd be happy with a 2x, but Cardano seems to me to be the coin that's like has the community. It has people that know the name. It has the mind share. It's got the, exciting founder. And I really do think Cardano is going to be like the best performing asset in the crypto space over 2024. So we'll see. That's going to be a clip we can we can cut back to at the end of the year, but that's my bold prediction.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like for top 10 coins, we'll exclude for the purposes of top 10 the Tether, Circle, and Steth. So we can add Dogecoin, Polkadot, and Matic. Man, Matic has broken through. It's overtaken Tron, so that's now in the top 10 of non-stable coin. Taiki, which one of those 10 do you? We're gonna look back in 12 months. Which one do you want to choose as the high performer?
Ironically, I mean, yeah, I think Cardano is a pretty good pick. It's like a meme coin, right? But I think ironically, Solana can just keep outperforming. I think it's taking the mantle because last cycle Cardano was the hedge against Ethereum. That was the narrative, and then it like 100x. And I think this cycle Solana is the hedge against Ethereum according to the eyes of retail and even to the eyes of Jason Calacanis, right? Like, at some point he's going to have Anatoly on this podcast. He's going to buy Sol and be like, wow, like, look how open-minded I am. I changed my mind on Solana. I'm so smart. I just feel like Solana is going to become like the selling point of a success story in crypto. And if you want to hedge your Ethereum holdings, buy Solana. That might be the narrative that just takes it to greater heights and even all-time highs like next year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Thicky, out of the top 10, like which one do you kind of like to bet on?
I'm probably gonna bet on Bitcoin.
Where do you see Bitcoin kind of ending up at?
I feel like I always have to revise my upwards estimates. So I don't know. I'll just throw out 100K just randomly.
So you feel like no other coin will sort of more than 2.5x out of the top 10?
I don't think, not from here.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go classic with you. I will choose Ethereum. I think it's massively under kind of performed in 2023 and kind of suffered from this like mid-curve thing that we all kind of spoke about in previous episodes. But I think it's time for the revenge of the Seath, and we will have quite a huge year for Ethereum. I think the ETF narrative will pick up. I think the supply will keep shrinking, and I just think I see a lot of things aligning. There's not a lot of supply overhang, and I think it's massive. I think people underestimate over like the year plus time frame how supply overhangs can matter. And I worry for Sol as an asset. I like the Sol ecosystem. I think a lot of the apps and a lot of the SPLs will do really well, but the fact that there's $1 billion just kind of constantly unlocking of new Solana is not very bullish in my opinion. The one dark horse I'll say is Polygon. It's had quite a good run. I would give it like a good 30% chance. I think it's risky. It's a worse risk reward in my opinion than ETH, but there's a huge Indian community that's growing, and that economy is doing very well. They have a coin that they can kind of call their own that a lot of the Indian builders have been looking at. It's great CK tech. I think they're ahead of the game on that side. So that's my dark horse. So yeah, we'll look back in 12 months and see if it was Solana, Cardano, something Ethereum, Polygon, or Bitcoin, or maybe we're all wrong and Polkadot makes a comeback.
XRP, the standard.
Who else do you guys think will make a comeback? So we've had some characters take a beating. Is any of them going to come back? What do you think, Taiki?
I definitely think. So I'm gonna take Kasamani. So I'm not even sure if he ever like died, but I think he took a beating. After like the whole every billionaire is calling me to buy Solana or whatever that tweet was. If you think about it, I mean, all his plays have done really well this year, like Solana, Helium, like Deep and stuff. I think he was early into like the Say round, like 50 million FTV or something, and people love to hate on him because I guess it doesn't go with like the Ethereum ideals, speed over security, etc. But from an investing perspective, he's been contrarian and he's been right. So I think he might have another arc, right? His profile might reach higher highs next cycle relative to last cycle. So big up to Kasamani.
That's definitely a good chance one, because those type of characters have very large variance. They ride it all the way to the top and they don't sell, but they can, if it keeps going, they can 100x, and then they can minus 95% as well. So Samani is a good high variance bet. Justin, any comeback stories you see forming?
I'm not sure about comeback, but I will say I think this is going to be the year that we get some really big new voices and new advocates for crypto. Part of me wonders if Chamath is actually that person. We've been talking about All In a lot, but he knows about blockchain. He's bought a lot of Solana before. It seems like he did well on it and sold the top. And I'm sort of wondering if he's going to come around and sort of go head to head with JCal on the podcast and sort of be a champion for crypto, or it could be sort of someone else from left field. But I think this is going to be the year with the ETF that we're going to get some really big voices supporting crypto, which I'm actually really excited about. I think that's going to be really helpful. So
interesting. The all in fanboy wants all in podcast to be the crypto comeback story. That'll be cool. It'll be cool to see. They definitely seem to be more interested in it again. Thicky, I know maybe you're not as bullish on how the year is going to play out. Do you think Capo maybe makes a comeback?
Yeah, my I guess prediction for 24 is that we see kind of like a 1 or 2 quarter top after the ETF gets approved. So yeah, I do expect Capo's time in the sun will come soon.
Are we getting 12K? Is 12K predestined? How bad really can it get though?
I don't know. I don't think it can get that bad, but like these things always go a lot higher and lower than I expect. So who knows? We might see like a weird candle just because of like liquidity.
This is true. Well, one last category. We want to kind of go for dark horses, non-consensus. What kind of categories or what segments are we kind of viewing as a dark horse that could take hold in 2024? Taiki, what do you think?
Yeah, so I kind of have two, somewhat tangential, but the one dark horse category I think people are overlooking is decentralized SocialFi. We've already seen Friend Tech just take over the timeline for a few months and just open the imagine, like, like opened up, I guess, like the dreams of, mass adoption. Of course, Frentech didn't really do that well, but I think that was somewhat of a test pump. And whoever figures it out, maybe it is Frentech V2, right? Like they drop a token, maybe it's BitClout. They have like $100 million in the treasury, or maybe there's like other. I think there's a project called yo.lol that is backed by Coinbase. I feel like one of those projects are going to just do something really well, and just take over the mindshare again and be like, wow, like we saw what happened to Frentech. This is the real deal. And then people are going to speculate really, really hard. And another thing, this is somewhat of a comeback. I wanted to add this as well, but I think Mark Cuban, I think he could also be a main character sometime next cycle. He's just like made like $1 billion or a few $billion, like selling like the Dallas Mavericks, or some of his stake. And he's tweeting about ZK technology. And maybe he wants to become, the Michael Saylor of Ethereum, right? Like maybe he just becomes this ETH main character. That could be some black swan / dark horse that people are overlooking, and he just like starts aping into Ponzi's, like iron finance and stuff.
If Trump like wins the election, and he's kind of into this NFTs and all this stuff, and then Cuban starts becoming political, and crypto becomes on the main stage, that will be like a fascinating world to live in, I would say.
Yeah, that'll be good for everyone. I mean, like politics aside, like, like just general price action wise, I think that's going to be good for everyone. So yeah, these like social and Mark Cuban, I guess, dark horses.
Yeah, it strikes me as funny that I think crypto is going to get more and more political. Like, I love talking how like Arbitrum is the blue coin and Optimism is the red coin, which sort of reminds me of Democrats and Republicans. And I think we're going to see more and more of this tribalism as, like Trump's issuing NFTs on Polygon, right? Maybe that becomes the Republican chain, and maybe Mark Cuban goes to Optimism or Arbitrum, and that's more of a liberal or left-leaning chain. I think we're going to see some more alignment with that, where people like follow their favorite politicians, influencers, etc.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, crypto can reflect the divisions of the real world, just like we have divisions between the cults and the religions in crypto as well.
Like, they're like different sports teams. I feel like we're all just like cheering for our favorite team.
Definitely feels like that. And speaking of Thicky, I think do you have a dark horse category?
I think like meme coins and gambling, but like not in like the form that you expect. But I do think this. Uh, I guess this is kind of a cynical take, but I do think like everything is kind of just gotten like meme coin inflows, and as long as you're like the best in your category and you are I guess like alive and still like there's like a possible chance that you're going to ship something that like you just get a huge premium when money's flowing into the ecosystem. So yeah, more of that to continue.
So you kind of think that all this tech, all this other stuff doesn't really matter. People just want a nice way to gamble.
Yeah, exactly. I think like like the CT natives have kind of figured it out, which is why we're so surprised that like, oh, why are L1s pumping again? Like we've already kind of figured out the tech, but I still think like the masses haven't really figured it out yet. It's still like something mystical and new and promising. So it might take a few more cycles for.
I've seen some of this like take in some of my trading Telegram chats where people are saying that they feel like trading these like rotations between all these different coins is like the best video game they've ever played. It's like the most addictive video game, and that would kind of sound like their thesis.
Yeah, on chain is crypto gaming. Like that's my thesis. This is the best gaming entertainment industry ever.
Hopefully, there's something more than that. Justin, any categories that you see as a dark horse?
Yeah, for me, it's stable coins. The stablecoin market cap seems to have bottomed, and I think from here on out in 2024, the stablecoin market cap will basically just be up only. And I think more specifically, the sort of thing that's going to surprise us next year is actually CBDCs, which I'm fairly excited about. I think, there's a huge narrative of different nations and countries buying BTC as a way to hedge against currency risk and whatnot. But I actually think the big thing we're going to see is some major countries launch CBDCs. We're like just now starting to hear about countries exploring it, releasing some papers. And I think, one semi-major nation is going to launch a CBDC on a public blockchain. And I think we're all going to be very impressed by that. I think it's going to be a new narrative.
Wow. I mean, I feel like CBDCs are maybe, 5-10 years away, but it's interesting that we went from meme coins to stable coins as being like the two complete extremes for a dark horse.
Yeah, if I can just quickly chime in, like Brad, if you can share the screen, uh, there's this website called naivetracker.com, and it kind of tracks Naive Bukele. He's like the president of El Salvador, and he's up 0.01% on his Bitcoin purchases. And it'll be cool if Bitcoin starts pumping and like El Salvador's economy improves as a result of this, like if other countries start to FOMO into BTC and like you have to kind of think about this type of stuff, right? Like you kind of have to think about like bull market narratives, and um, I just love the fact that he just aped in at the top and then he just like DCA'd and like doubled down at the bottom. He actually has like a literal bottom buy like post FTX. So big up to Naive and El Salvador. I hope he ends up being successful. But yeah, like countries adopting crypto, right? Like you have to think about all these out there narratives that could just catalyze us to some super cycle. Yeah, Susan talked about.
Yeah, we saw Argentina obviously kind of take a direction of going in that way, and we'll see if other countries are also interested. I think even countries as large as Brazil at some point might give a look to crypto for fixing some currency issues.
Jordy, what are your predictions?
So the one thing I'm very bullish on as a dark horse category is Steady Lads. So I think just both the show collectively, I think we will kind of keep improving, getting very very top guests, but also I think individually some of the people on the show, I'm expecting Thicky to kind of go into his villain mode and short the hell out of the ETF pump and start becoming a main character, one of the kind of top performing traders maybe of 2024. I think Justin has some cool stuff they're working on now with Astaria. I think Taiki subscribers are going back up, and he's in a groove now. We have all kinds of new research and new podcasts he's doing. So, and I'll kind of quickly show Selene, my firm. We've survived through the bear market, and we've hired some super talented people, and I'm very excited for 2024. So I think Steady Lads in 12 months will be doing very very well individually and collectively together. So hope our audience is going to join us on that journey. We hope you all will also have an amazing 2024, and we'll be here to chat with you as we kind of get all the developments over the next month. So catch you next year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bullish on the lads.
That was a good finish. I like that one.